Hey, everybody. Welcome. I'm Laura DeFranco, the CEO of Brave Healer Productions, where we have a mission to change the world one brave word at a time around here. And today we're celebrating one of our newest books, The Ancestors Within. This is volume 2, Discover and Connect with Your Ancient Origins. And as you can see, I have some of the amazing author experts here with me to share their wisdom. Hey, guys. First, let's just say a big thank you to Amy Gillespie Doherty, because she has a really, really big mission, you guys. Our lead author, Amy, is bringing the world's leading experts in ancestral healing together in this series of powerful books. And we're changing the world with these stories, the tools, the energy. It's been magical. So thank you, Amy, for getting us all together to talk about this topic. I know I have learned a ton just speaking with you all and reading your chapters, and authors, I'm so happy to have you here. You guys, I have Elizabeth Kipp. She's an ancestral clearing practitioner helping to end suffering and awaken people to their true nature. Leah Skirdahl is an ancestral healer and intuitive wellness guide who helps reconnect thought leaders to their natural state of inner well-being. Adriana Smith, the queen of energy, is a non-speaking adult with autism. Melissa Jolly Graves is the successful owner of Euphoric Source. She's a minister, spiritual counselor, healer, and author who is on a mission to change the perspectives of non-believers. James Kawanui is a native Hawaiian healer, mentor, and kahu. Am I saying that right, James? Which is a minister who is an expert at clearing blockages from trauma, injury, and illness. And you guys, of course, after when you hear something that resonates, you want to take it a step further, all you have to do is go down to the show notes, because I have all of their websites hooked up for you, and you can connect with them and ask your questions and continue the amazing conversation that we're about to have today. So you guys, in a little bit of a random order today, I'm starting with Elizabeth, and I would love for you to tell us about this beautiful chapter you wrote. Elizabeth, welcome.
Thanks so much, Laura. Welcome, everyone. My chapter is chapter 18, Empaths and Ancestors, Cultivating Empathic Skills to Connect and Work with Your Ancestors. And I wrote this chapter, Amy and I got into a conversation about the last book and the book series, and we found that there was a space for speaking about what skills can we cultivate to really connect into the ancestors in a healthy way. And the question that I hear a lot from people is, I take on their energy. I take on the energy of the ancestors. So we want to be able to communicate with the ancestors, but not take on anything more that we're already imprinted into us. So that's the point of my chapter, is how do you create the space, or how do you hold the space, or how do you how do you do that in a way that is healthy for both you and the ancestors? I hope that makes sense.
That does make sense. And honestly, I want you to talk a little bit more about it, because I just thought we connect, like we need to connect. We should go do this, but making it healthy is really important. So tell me a little bit more about that.
Sure. I'll give you an example. As a 4-year-old, I knew about some of the darker sides of my family. And I was like, what am I doing here in this family, right? And I'm not knowing at the time, I took on a lot of guilt and shame around the stuff that had happened in my lineage. And I carried it for years until I came into the ancestral clearing practice and realized, oh my goodness, that was a choice I made to carry that, right? I already have gifts and burdens from the ancestors coming in on the DNA, but I made a choice to carry more. and we're all empaths. We're just, some of us are just more sensitive or more awake than others. Humans are just empaths by nature. So I just hear a lot, I need to protect myself. I don't want to take on energy. And I speak to that in this chapter.
Awesome. I think there are so many different people who are going to hear us talk about these topics today in all of these beautiful authors' voices. It's so important to understand this. And this, to start our conversation off with this, to kind of know your own energy, know yourself before you go diving headfirst into something that can be actually pretty overwhelming when you start to feel the magic. I'll use the positive M word there, the magic of it. Thank you, Elizabeth. And thank you for being here. And thank you all for saying yes to this project. It's been really, really powerful. I'm going to say that P word a lot today because of what I've been feeling in this book, specifically this second book in the series. Leah, will you tell us about your beautiful chapter?
Yes, thank you. I wrote chapter 8, We Are All Related, Raising Collective Consciousness. And I first talked about my resistance to working with the spirit realm. Like, no, I said no the first time that I heard a request to connect. No, I don't think so. But then over the years, as I've connected with my heart and really, I've been able to help people. I'll tell a story about that in a minute. But in the collective consciousness raising, if we are looking at a pattern in the ancestry that is ready to uplift, I've been honored to help connect inward in a way that helps the whole line show up as their highest and best self.
What a beautiful way to think about that. I mean, I've honestly always been honored to call myself a healer. I know a lot of healers don't want to call themselves healers because we know what we really are as a guide. You know, we don't heal people. People can heal themselves, but occasionally they need a cheerleader. They need a guide. They need a support. They need the love. They need someone to talk to about what it all is, right? So I also feel honored, Leah. What's that story you wanted to tell us about that?
Well, just what came to mind today to share is when my children were little, one of our mom friends died unexpectedly. And we were going to the funeral that day. And of course, the anxiety is high because she left behind 2 little kids and I had 2 little kids who were friends. And so in my house, my kids and I were all anxious. And all of a sudden I stopped and I was off in a corner by myself and I heard her voice very loudly and clearly saying, do not waste a single moment on anger. Like, oh my gosh. And so when things like that have happened, it has just opened my heart to, oh, you know, our spirit friends are still on the other side, guiding us, helping us, trying to be of service. If we let them, maybe they've got unresolved issues that we can help them work through as well. So I developed more of a partnership out of that.
I love that. Thank you. And I don't know if some of our listeners even have thought about that. You know, what else is possible is a question I ask a lot, especially since reading these books. And what else is possible in the realm of you could be helping your ancestors heal something that's been there for a really long time. Like you know, most people are pretty selfish about their healing journey because it's about me. But when you start to understand what's possible in terms of the generations behind and forward, right? Mm-hmm. I think it's so incredibly powerful to think about it that way.
And I love what Elizabeth said about empaths, because I was an empath. Like, no. and so I'll have more conversation with Elizabeth about that in the future.
James, what do you want to say about that?
I was going to say, you know, we think it's about us, but the reality is that it's about us because we're living and feeling what happened to them inside of what was going on. So yes, in being short-sighted, it might be about who we are, and yet the reality is that we may be living their story over again.
Thank you for that. I love yes, I like thinking about that in all kinds of different ways. I appreciate that. So Adriana is up next, and you guys, Melissa will be doing some of the speaking for Adriana. So tell us about your chapter, Adriana.
So she actually wrote a message to Mom, and she said she wants that to be said first. So Mom, what message did she write you? You're on mute.
Well, she deleted it and she took her iPad. She was happy to be here. She's very excited, but then she said Noah is here now. So I guess Noah has joined us energetically, and she's just too excited to look at everybody. Yeah.
So Adriana, I do telepathic speaking for her. I just want to sum up what she had said, but she said, I am very excited to be here and to be an author of this book, but I wanted to show the world what it is like for me when I take on extra energy. Reaching on Zoom and internet and things like that cause anxiety and chaos within my body. And just like my chapter says, it takes a lot for me to bring that energy into the body in a way that I can feel it, because as was said before here with Leah, we can feel the anger and the sadness, and Elizabeth said that too, and she says I feel it all. And coming into this book has been a huge thing for me, because I know where it's going, and there's going to be over 2 million people reached from this. And so as I sit down here for this podcast today, I'm feeling all of the energies that are to come, and it's almost overwhelming for the amount of energy that us authors are going to have to exhort while people are reading it. They're still picking up after us energy. And so she's reminding the authors also that it doesn't stop in our writing, that it continues every time somebody reads it. And she's very excited, and to call on her specifically when you're reading her chapter. And she's going to do the best to bring you kindness and love and some energy. You might feel hot, colds, and tingles, but she's saying that she'll be there for you now. She just has to show you what her body is like and the things that she needs to get through so that she can be that person to explain how she functions and how hard it is. But she's leaving now to do energetic work on everyone.
Thank you, Melissa, and thank you, Adriana, for being in the book, and for to all of you to listening to Melissa and Adriana's words about the way that we have to master our ability to handle energy. I honestly think that that awareness and practice, and I even call it a discipline and mastery, is what makes me honored to say healer when I talk about myself or any of you, because honestly, that's the practice. And some days it is the anxiety on Zoom. I'm there with you, Adriana. Holy moly. Okay, gather yourself, ground and center, take that belly breath. Let's bring it in, and then let's offer our gifts, right? So thank you to all of you for doing that. Yeah, Leah.
Well, I want to honor Adriana for being here on planet Earth right now and trying to integrate all of this chaotic energy. And so for those of us who don't have the extra autism piece, what I notice in trying to anchor energy, like I'm a kinesthetic, and so sometimes I feel like I'm getting electrocuted. And so what really matters to me is to feel grounded, is drinking lots of water, doing exercise, doing yoga, moving my spine, lots of movement, lots of grounding, being outside in nature, and eating high vibration food, not junk food. That's what works for me. So, I invite you, the listener, to, what works for you to feel grounded in your body.
Nice. The tools. We're actually going to get around to talking about that today a little bit more. Melissa, tell us about your amazing chapter.
Okay, so I'm chapter 22, Love Makes You a Hero, Opening the Gateways for All to Heal. And my story actually begins with an argument, and it's an argument that I seem to have with a lot of the spiritual community, where a lot of people have imaginations and they go with it, and then they say that it's real and go talk to other people about it. And I'm coming into a state right now where I need to do a lot more speaking and teaching and that kind of thing. And in the story, we talk about how the ancestors come through and they're saying, stop with the anger, just like Elizabeth and Leah here said, stop with that anger. And that's what's making Adriana, so upset too, is those unresolved emotions, because when they pass, the first thing that everyone says in any death that I've seen, and our ancestors say, we should have loved, we should have spent more time with family. Sorry, they're even coming through with emotions right now saying, if they could give one message, love above everything. You think it's so hard, but the hate is worse. And you're stuck in that hell of eternity of all of those bad emotions when we die. And we wait as ancestors for the forecomers to have happy moments, blessing moments, moments that they spent time with their kids rather than work, or they chose to eat dinner rather than have a drink. And all of these times that they hung on to, and why they hung on to their death for so long or dying for so long, is because these are the moments in their head where they're saying, I wish I said I love you rather than you are worthless. And so here we come into Love Makes You a Hero, that we have enough ancestors, right? I read some article that said we had about 4 million ancestors behind each of us. And if that's true, our responsibility in this life is to take care of our ancestors and ourself and our energy. And by just clearing their ghost energy and changing their emotion allows that energy to be released into collective consciousness, so that it's more comforting for us to be into a world alone. So if we focus on ourselves and love, and then that's all we need to focus on, not ley lines, not healing the world, just healing ourselves. We've healed 4 million. And not only that, but everyone else around us who has that new perspective now gets healed too, which then heals 4 million on the living side also.
Oh my gosh, you guys understand the sandbox I get to play in every day? Okay, will you do me a favor, Melissa, briefly on what's a ley line? Tell our listeners what you're talking about.
Okay, so ley lines are specific points of energy. So the way that I see energy is there's always points of energy. So if you can imagine the star systems, right? That's the best way to explain it for me, is that if you were to take the stars and you were to kind of drop it on Earth, there's certain areas of energy that are going to stay there forever because they're points of energy that are there forever. Well, in order to entrap the energy of the world, it kind of has to be like a colander, like you put your noodles in. So the creator has to conform that somehow. And so what it does is it drops almost a cage of energy. So our energy doesn't go out willingly, but other energies can't come in. So it's just kind of a cage place, or a universal force field, a universal torus per se, that holds energy in or out. And it is up to the creators to utilize it and to keep us safe. And the more that we play with it, the more it changes everything. But yeah, ley lines are pretty much the cage of our energy, to say the least. All those star points connecting up.
And I know any of these topics, we could sit here all day long and talk about more. And there's so much to learn, everybody. There's so much to learn. Oh my goodness, it's exciting. James, tell me about your amazing chapter.
My chapter is about just connecting and starting the process of listening and being okay with that. So the name of the chapter was Going Home, and it was about something that happened to an experience that happened to me, which is the first time I actually heard them. I had a clairaudient experience, and I hadn't had that before. But most of what I realized, and goes back to what Melissa was talking about, there was in some ways there was unresolved emotion, and the unresolved emotion was resistance. And so it was that resistance of not wanting to listen. And what I found was when my life, when I didn't listen, life is a little bit harder. So it's the easiest way to explain it. So it was about the process of becoming comfortable with the connections that we have. I think that's the easiest way to explain the chapter that I wrote.
Talk a little bit more about that listening. I'm chuckling. I mean, I think everybody's had a moment, right? But so, and also listening is different for everybody. So maybe
Listening,
talk about
yeah.
that. Yeah.
Listening is different for everybody because there's different ways that we listen. Like the way that they talk to me, for example, is they show me movies or song lyrics from a song, and the meaning inside of whatever it is that I'm sharing with someone is inside of that one line in that lyric or in that one scene in this movie, or you're asking a question and you know, again, a song comes on the radio, or there's a picture that shows up, or you get a text from someone, you know, so there's different ways of listening. It's not always with your ears, but with understanding and just being available to and open, I guess you could say. And I think everybody talked about that this morning, this process of being open to that possibility. And we are creating a relationship. And so the understanding of creating a relationship with, and this is the part that some people have a hard time with somebody that you may not be actually able to see or understand in the physical.
One more thing on the listening, I think you're making me realize I was hearing things before I knew what I was hearing. And so so sometimes we do need teachers to come into our life and say, hey, you know, that bird that keeps showing up for you, and how you talk about that amazing hawk in the sky. And so that's something you need to be listening to, right? What else do you want to say about that?
It is, because I guess some people call it listening, other people may call it signs. You know, you're looking for signs or things, you know. For me, and I mean, I'm wearing an owl this morning, but for me, that's one of my spirit animals is an owl. So when I used to ask questions, they would come and talk to me at night, or they would wake me up, or I would see them, or they would fly across my car when I'm driving. And those are ways of understanding that this is your answer. You're asked the question, and I'm confirming it by the vision, or being able to see that. And sometimes it's a vision as well, because you'll see something that is outside of your ordinary day-to-day.
Yes.
Right. And I think that's an important piece is to say that.
Yes, I love it. And very powerful practice. All right. So for all of you, I know it is super clear, especially after reading the chapters and now the second book, that ancestral healing and this whole topic has been transformational for all of you. It's been a transformational way to look at and be in the world. So Leah, I'm going to start with you for the question. And that is, I want you to tell me about that biggest aha moment you had when you learned about your ancestors or started diving into this.
One story is kind of piggybacking on what James said. After my father died, I had a pheasant rooster engraved on his gravestone because pheasants were part of our family. He was a hunter. And on our way home from driving home, we went through the cemetery and there was a pheasant rooster. And oh gosh, Dad's saying goodbye to us. And then 3 weeks later, I was driving along. It was my birthday, thinking that I wouldn't get to say my dad wouldn't say happy birthday to me, when a pheasant rooster flew in front of my car. Like, Dad saying happy birthday. So there were some times that pheasants would show up as my dad speaking to me. And so that, like, whoa, I'm listening, paying attention to the signs. So those were big ahas about the spirit world is still here talking to me. And there's more here. And that it was a healing, very much a healing.
We're having a big bird talk today, aren't we? Owls, hawks, pheasants. I love it. Oh, that's why the tattoo on my forearm, you guys, in case you didn't know. Yeah, there we go. We can all show the feathers, huh? Adriana, I would love to know one of your biggest aha moments about this topic of ancestors.
So I know she was busy with mom right now and she's going to come up with another physical message, but while she was back there, what I heard was there was no real aha moment in this life. The aha moment was the life before, when I was a spirit and I was seeing all of these other spirits entrapped, almost like they were in jails, into this place of living, and I wanted to free them. And so asking them how to free them, I had to go in and I had to realize that I had to go be one of them so I can understand them and have empathy and give them a new change or a new reality of living. And so my aha moment was actually before I even came to this world. And then my greatest aha moment was coming in and seeing, or walking throughout my life, everybody that comes with them, all of the energy that's behind and around them. I see it every day. So there are many aha moments for me. It doesn't stop. What I have bigger aha moments for is that people can't see them or feel them.
Sharon, is there anything else you wanted to add?
Yep.
This is amazing. I feel the energy. Great discoveries while writing and focusing. So powerful.
Did you hear that okay?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, ladies. Thanks for the teamwork here. Melissa, did you have an aha that you want to share in terms of the way that we think about ancestors in this whole big game of healing?
Well, one of my aha moments was actually kind of writing in Sacred Medicine, the other book that we have with Brave Healer Productions. And that was a moment, you know, like Adriana said, where, whoa, our ancestors are us. And so I guess my aha moment was at any moment and any time that I can be a gateway for them if I just make the right choice. If there is some trauma that I had or some fear that I have, get over it. If I'm afraid of heights, go on then go get over it. And the more that I get over, and the more free I am from my sins or my fear, the more I am an open gate for my ancestors to heal and know that that energy that they're going to come into, or that is going to come forward, no longer has to exist. And that leaves a place for love.
You guys are helping me understand this. A few of you have talked about the fact that we could stop thinking of this as me and these other people. It's one energy. So that's a responsibility that we can take on if we, choose to in this lifetime to do that kind of work. I call it work, but really it's not work when you have a moment of healing that changes your entire life and you feel that love brewing in your heart that Melissa was talking about earlier. I love it. Thank you, Melissa. So James, have an aha to share with us?
Well, I think I'm just going to go on before I say anything about what Melissa was saying and what you were saying. For me, when I close my eyes, it's almost as if I'm standing at the apex of a triangle, and I'm closing my eyes, but I'm standing at the apex of the triangle, and I am the spokesperson for my ancestors. And it's an interesting thing because different people come through at different points for different reasons and for different opportunities. And so the aha came for me was when I, excuse my language, but when I went, shit, I'm doing this for the rest of my life, aren't I? And I was in my, when I realized that I was in my mid 40s. So it was a complete change. And that's what the chapter was about. It was a complete change from everything that I knew into this other place that I landed. And I was like, okay, I get it. And just the fact that I'm sitting on here this morning talking to you is a testament to that, because if I had my way, I would still be living in New Zealand and you guys would never even know who I am. because that was my choice, James the man. And yet listening to them and the guidance of being here was me continuously going, okay, what else do you want me to do? What is there for me to do? What else is there, today? Who is it that will show up in front of me that needs or is ready to be to make that transition, or to walk those steps? Because to walk that journey is very powerful, very scary, and not so easy.
For sure. I have to back up for a moment, you guys, because for any listener who is only listening to audio of this video podcast, when James talked about the triangle, every single one of y'all's head nodded. So, for those of you who didn't actually get that visual, I cracked up. I'm like, yeah, we're going to do that whiplash thing again, aren't we? I love it when everybody nods. Elizabeth, how about you? Did you have an aha moment when you dove into this field of ancestral healing?
Well, I've had a number of them, but the one that's coming through right now to share, I went down to Costa Rica for an event, and it was a retreat, and we were in this nature preserve, and there were lots of birds, by the way, tons of birds, and anyway, monkeys and all kinds of creatures down there. And I get onto the property and I'm like, my people don't come from here, but I felt my ancestors. And I was like, okay, this is confusing, but this is what it is. So thank you very much. A couple of days later, we're doing a moving meditation where we're taking our arms and we're releasing anything that we don't need anymore back, right? We're going, Waheguru, Waheguru, which means, wow, teacher that takes us from darkness to light. It's a gratitude thing, help me release what I don't. And it's about 11-minute meditation. You're doing this. Somewhere in all of that, all of a sudden, I felt my ancestors right there behind me. I felt them. I was like, wow, I felt heat, and I felt like I was getting kind of a cosmic hug. And I was like, wow, cool. So I felt totally supported. But and that was awesome, right? But here was the aha moment. There is no separation. You took us here with you, right? And they were just really happy that I was doing the work, but there's no separation. There's a really important piece that I don't know how else there's no separation between all of us in the field of consciousness, but there's no separation in that part of the lineage back and front as well. It's the quantum field. So I hope that makes sense. It's profound.
Well, and I realize asking you all for just one is, it's like there's so many ahas and so many small, medium, and large moments of healing and waking up to things. And just so thank you guys for picking one. I know there are multiple. And something else I'm realizing even just right now with this particular group is that the next question I want to ask you is about how the world has had a pretty frickin' tough last couple of years. But what I'm realizing as I'm about to ask you guys this question is that these books, the divine timing of you all coming together and then putting these words out into the world in terms of the need is, it's just mind-boggling. I'm having an aha moment right now as I'm thinking about it. Y'all are so badass. You're amazing people who stepped up to share your authentic stories and then offer tools to people and really just very generously educating and repeating yourselves and doing it again. And just like, all right, we're going to give people a chance to understand. So James, I'm starting this one with you about those couple of hard years we've all had. Some of our listeners are listening today and they may still feel down, stuck, you know, whatever that feeling is still, how might connecting with their ancestors help them right now?
I'm just going to give you the answer that comes when you ask the question. And think of it like having another pair of eyes, and a pair of eyes that can see farther than you can see. So, you know, in our daily lives, we see just what's in front of us. And yet when we can allow that connection to happen, it's almost like having, I guess we're talking about birds, because think about a hawk or an eagle, or it's that bird that is high in the sky, right? So a hawk can see the terrain. The hawk or the eagle can see the terrain, and so it sees everything around it, and yet it can see the mouse or the bird or whatever it is that they're hunting at the same time. So they have that broad perspective view. And I think when we can connect to our ancestors, that's what we're allowing, is that space. Because so in the shaman world, that's a different dimension of reality, and the dimension of reality of past, present, and future, all in the same space. And so when we connect to that place, they give us that perspective of being able to see not only into the past, but also into the future.
I love that answer. You're helping me think about it like when you're in your crap and you're so narrowly focused and feeling your junk, and it's just, you're so in it, you're not separated from it. So as you have the bigger view, oh, I can even take the deeper breath. I like that.
Yeah, it might be something that's happening in the moment that feels very overwhelming, but when we look at it in the perspective of the larger picture, you know, everybody would agree it's a blip. It's just a moment in time, right?
Yes.
And can we, something that we haven't talked about today, but it talks about in relationship to the emotion that everybody's mentioned is that act of forgiveness. There's a big piece of forgiveness inside of this, for not only for our forgiveness, what happened to the ancestors, what happened to them, but forgiveness in ourselves. Because when we forgive, whatever it is that we're looking at or thinking about, it allows us more space then to grow.
The ultimate foundational self-love, I believe, is that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Elizabeth, how do you want to add to this in terms of how can connecting help right now, somebody who might still be a little stuck?
Thank you. I love the question. I underscore everything James said. And what I would add is we're already connected. It's just the mind and the ego that presents a veil that we can't see. So when I'm in my stuff, you know, and I'm like, right. I have the benefit of being in this work, and I know I'm supported. I know I'm supported by the field, right? By creator, source of all it is. But I'm also, because there's no separation, I'm already connected in my ancestors, and they're right there with me, right? So in this lifetime, I'm the one. It's up to me, right, to take responsibility for my life and the lineage, right? But they're supporting me. So it's like this two-way street. And I just feel like the listeners, I just want them to know they're never alone. That's the point. Mm-hmm.
Yes, we're already connected. Yes, yes, yes. We forget, you know? Yeah. So how can we remind ourselves when we need to remind ourselves, I think, is key. Leah, how about you? What do you want to add to this?
I want to also add to what James and Elizabeth said, which is all brilliant. What I've noticed is in my energy healing, I follow the frequency back to the place of its roots, its origination. And what has been astounding is that these ancestors have wanted to uplift the vibration of the whole lineage out of, for example, I mean, who's been showing up the most are the the patriarchy that wants, it's like, we're done with that story. We're done with that story. And so now how can I hold that in myself? And so what might be beneficial is to find that healthy ancestor. Just ask your wisdom, your healthy ancestor who knows how to do what needs to get done right now, and ask for that guidance. So maybe you have a healer in your ancestry who was the wise woman in the village who knows, has some insights. And so asking again for as one of your ancestors to show up as a guide to like inform you about how you can be of service or how you can shift in yourself what needs to get shifted for the collective.
I had never heard that particular question or instruction of looking for that healthy ancestor. I have to admit to you guys, when I look back, there wasn't a whole lot of healthy people back then. I mean, right? Like, so I love that because they were there, except for I haven't really asked myself to look for those people. But is there anything else you want to say about that healthy? I mean, you guys know what I'm talking about, right? Who wants to add a little bit to that? Anyone?
Well, we come into this world with the gifts and the burdens of our ancestors, and that's something that I'm very careful to keep balanced. I have the resilience, right? I have maybe their sense of humor. I came in with this sense of gratitude, which is like, I didn't make that up. it was there with me. And I also came in with this talent for finding things. Like, if you lose something in your house, call me. I'll come over and I'll find it for you. It's just, I didn't make that up, right? So we come into this world with the gifts and the burdens, and we need to remember both of those to keep the equation balanced, because it's truly balanced.
And actually the clarity came for me just now when you said sense of humor, because there's some, I've seen that come through a lot of my family members, and I love that one in particular.
I could use your help, Elizabeth. I lost a set of keys yesterday.
So go ahead, Melissa.
So I just wanted to kind of throw a perspective on healthy. What healthy should be is the greater serving for the whole. So is it serving for more than it is for one is the best way to look at it, because if it's not, then it's ego.
There we go. Yeah, nice. Thank you, guys. So let's ask Adriana if she is ready to talk about this in terms of like people just feeling a little stuck still. Yeah. And how does connecting help us?
Okay. Yes, the pandemic enhanced the energy, but it made my body's chaos more pronounced. Learning control, patience, and love is everyone's journey. Mom, you are learning so much.
She added that at the end.
And then she had me writing something here because she was just going so fast that she wanted to add to everyone else, is that we keep focusing and saying it's our responsibility to heal our ancestors, and it's true. But she also wrote me this: be nice to people and spread love, because it's not only about healing us, it's about healing the whole. And if we choose to make good decisions, then that is where the healthy energy comes in. But she's saying if we choose to make good decisions, so me and Paul are going to get in a fight and I choose not to hit him, that also heals his ancestry, because if I would have hit him, then he would have held that in his lineage, and then also held that anger to want to punch somebody else. So she just wanted to make the point too, to love, because it's not only about our ancestry, it is about healing other people's too. And that's what she's stuck with in this pandemic, is that she was feeling everybody's energy coming together and what they needed to deal with. And it wasn't just about us, it was also what people did to us.
Thank you, Melissa. So Melissa, let's stick with you for a moment to answer that same question. What else do you want to add?
I'm gonna kind of bounce off her then too, because I was going back and forth between me and her. But here's the bottom line is that if we don't hurry up and just heal and love and get through this fear of what they've been through, we're gonna bring this up. And then we talk about this in my story too, that when we're bringing up ancestors, like I hate to hit on this, but this is a big subject. We all know about it. Black Lives Matter is this big thing. And if we're bringing up the past, like our ancestors were slaves, or we're bringing up the witchery and our witches got put down, or we're bringing up tuberculosis and we're bringing up anything in the past and holding that anger present, saying, well, because of what my ancestors went through, I'm mad. That brings them to the forefront. It makes them not able to rest. It doesn't allow them that healing. So we need to come up with compromise and love so that everybody feels included, so that we stop the illnesses, the history, and the mind frames that have had a unhealthy impact on our energy, and come up with a new way to, yeah, that sucks that they went through slavery, but can we take the bravery that they had and the emotions and the strive and the survival that they had and use that to empower us now, rather than the fear that we're going to become slaves, because we're not. We can become presidents now, you know, and we don't need tuberculosis. We have shots. We have all these other things, you know, that can prevent a lot of the past from coming forefront.
Thank you.
It's not about holding on to the fear, because the fear is always going to be there. And I think everybody's talked about that in some way or another today. And yes, the fear is there. Yes, the pain is there and the question would be, in the moment, do I want to recreate that pain, or do I want to recreate that anger in this moment? Or am I going to take the next step? And the next step is, how can I do this a different way? Right? How can we do this a different way? And I think that's one of the primary questions that we're being asked right now, is how can we do this a different way?
Yes, favorite question ever. What else is possible here?
Yeah.
Really, really important. Okay, you guys, let's do a speed dating question to wrap this party up today. Okay, so I would like to ask Adriana or Sharon, you guys, self-care is important. We need to fill our own cup to be able to do what we do every day, even to be here and have this conversation for other people. So I want to hear in a sentence or so, really, speed dating version, what's one of your favorite ways to fill your own cup back up? So,
Okay. We're going to use the board. Yes. Powerlifting. Yes.
Oh, powerlifting. Yes.
Yeah. Want to share our trainers. Yeah, we have the best trainers at the gym. They've gotten to understand the communication. They're understanding the energy. You see her energy here. It's the same at the gym, but with the heavy weights, it helps control the body, and just the vibe at the gym is just really nice. Good people.
Love it. Love that. I'm a get into my physical body gal myself. I love that one. Melissa, how about you? What's your favorite way? One of your favorite ways. I know you guys have multiple.
To be in the moment, I guess, at whatever moment that is, just acknowledge the smells and the scents and everything. Because when I feel connected to things, and the more that I feel connected to things, the more I'm assured that I'm not alone, and that something else is probably going through the same thing I am too. And so just breathe and be part of it, because this too shall pass, good or bad.
Nice. Elizabeth, how about you?
Yes, I'll underscore that. Just being and being still in that still silent space, and feeling the universe flowing through me. That's just I feel like I get filled up to overflowing from that.
Nice. Thank you. Leah, how about you?
I love all those things that have been said. What I particularly like is body soul movement. Like I move, I allow my body to process, to digest the energy of whatever is moving through. And I guess it feels like a digestion. So allowing it to, my body to express the digestion of the energy.
Love it. Thank you. James, you're going to close out this party today. What's one of your favorite ways to fill up?
Not being in my head so much. That's the easiest way to explain it. The less I'm in my head, the more I'm in my heart. The easier it is for me to be in the moment. Because if my mind is speaking, I'm pretty much not in the moment. I'm somewhere else, and it's creating some other reality, or however you want to look at it. So when I'm in my heart, I'm pretty much in the moment.
Love it. My go-to is a walk in nature. Love the earthing. And I can take my shoes off. I'll put my toes in the grass, and smelling the trees gets back to what Melissa was saying about senses. Just being there to smell and hear and see and feel, taste everything. Authors, thank you so much for what you do in the world and for being here today to share it with everyone.
We're not here if not for you. So thank you.
My total pleasure. So y'all are going to hopefully join us on October 27th at noon Eastern, when we're going to be celebrating with a live stream book launch party on the Brave Healer Productions Facebook page. And of course, I have you hooked up down there in the show notes with that link. And you guys, if you heard something that was resonating today, and you want to take that next step with our authors, their websites are below. Please do that. These people are generous and genuine about their offer to support and answer questions. And you will feel the love as you do that. These books have a really big mission to kind of continue the conversation beyond the book and really help guide that journey. And we'll say a quick hi to Noah. Hi, Noah. Glad Noah was in our first book, which is over there behind my shoulder back there, the purple one. So I love it. So you guys, if you're listening after the October 27th date, well, that means our book is ready on Amazon. So you got to hop over there and grab your copy.
Go get one.
Yes, exactly. Lastly, today, everybody, your words change the world when you're brave enough to share them. It's time to be brave. See you next time, y'all.